Board of Directors meeting, September 19th is in order. And we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. Asked our guest, Rick Aldrich, to lead. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job, Mr. Aldrich. Okay, roll call. Chuck Coleman.
Here.
Jim Ballantyne. Here. Terry Allred.
Here.
Diane Barney.
Here.
Okay. Bob Morgan is here. And that's all of us. Approval of agenda. Okay. Anyone have a motion to?
A motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Okay. Do we need a roll call vote because one's absent or not?
We do.
Okay, roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. You
Yeah,
gotta go through each.
Roll call vote.
Okay. Mr. Ballantyne? Yes. Mr. Coleman?
Aye.
Mr. Barney?
Oh, let's try that again.
Barney.
Director Barney, aye.
Director Barney. Director Barney? Yeah, I didn't hear you.
She said aye.
Aye.
And, Director Allred?
Aye.
And Director Morgan is aye. Okay. Motion passes for approval of the agenda. Item 2, community announcements. Anybody have public comments or items not on the agenda they wish to bring up?
Yes, Roseman has would like to announce that they are hosting the AV Traveling Wall from November 7th through November 12th. It'll be open to the public 24/7. Everyone is invited. It's at West Park Elementary School.
Okay, thank you.
Is that the Vietnam Veterans Memorial?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Could you describe what it is? Because I thought that was kind of a permanent installation in D.C. What is it that's traveling?
It's a replica of the permanent installation. There are 4 of them in the United States, and the volunteers here in Antelope Valley built one because they wanted more exposure to veterans and children. And so they've built a replica and put it in a trailer and take it around and display it. And Roseman now is going to have it, and all the community groups, the school district, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Roseman Municipal Advisory Council are all chipping in and training volunteers to show it to the public from November 7th to November 12th.
Okay, thank you. Is there a fee?
It's free and it's open 24/7.
Okay. Yeah, the one on the Washington Mall is very, very impressive, very moving.
Yes.
Thank you. Lynn?
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. I just want to give a brief update that we are already in preparation for our 2nd annual Toy Drive Christmas Tree Giveaway that will be happening in December at the Event Center on the 17th. And right now we are looking for tenants, individuals that want to donate Christmas trees. CHP will be doing their normal toy drive. They'll be setting out their boxes. And if anybody wants to volunteer, please reach out. All the information's in our flyers. And then we will be hitting all of Mojave and several other locations up until the event to get participants. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comments?
I just want to say thank you for the reminder on that, Lynn. That was a wild success last year, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out this year.
Thank you. We are too.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. Okay, we're on to item 4, action items. First one is Impulse Space Test Site lease.
We're on item 3, AT&C.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, consent agenda. Staff recommends approval by one motion. Are there any motions to approve the consent agenda?
Yeah, motion to approve items A, B, and C. Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Director Barney,
You can call me anything you want except Mister. I.
Director Coleman,
Aye.
Director Ulrich,
Aye.
and Mr. Morgan, also aye. The motion passes. Okay, item 4, action items. Impulse Space Test Site 1 lease, First Amendment.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, I'd actually like to call Lynn to come up and kind of give you guys a once-over on this agreement. It's just a amendment to Test Site 1's lease, and she can give you the full details.
Which test site?
Test Site 1.
Okay. I'll have some questions, but she might answer them.
Okay, so we recently, let's see, yeah, I say recently. On February 21st, we authorized the lease for Impulse. In their preparation to include all of their utilities, they discovered that they needed their road to be a little bit wider to accommodate putting the utilities that they are planning on putting in. So rather than doing a precise development plan without the current recommendations that their engineers are giving them, they are coming back to ask for basically an additional 10 feet on 2 of the access roads that are on their lease that they are currently being charged for. So it's moving the road 10 feet over and 10 feet up so that they will have a little bit more land to use. Other than that, they don't have any other changes to their existing boundaries.
Is it an asphalt road then?
Right now, it's all dirt.
Okay.
And so what they are proposing are the dirt roads that they're planning to go from their sites, A, B, and C. They'll all be dirt, but that's where they want to put their utilities in. And that's what several of the other test sites have done previously, is use their access road and run the utilities under that.
And is the airport going to perform this, or is there a quote, or are they going to provide it?
They are going to be installing their own utilities.
That's
Mhm.
good. Widening a dirt road, basically.
Yep, widening a dirt road so that they can run. Right now, their plan is to do water and power and fiber
Okay.
underneath there.
And then relative to the map, where's the location?
Test site 1.
Okay. Oh, is it in here?
The exhibit is in there.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
yes, the exhibit is in there. Actually, it is where the old inner orbital test site 1 is, but they expanded on that, and they are proposing in their original lease 3 different pad areas of control, and then a couple of different pads that they'll be doing testing on.
Didn't Maston used to be up in that area?
Maston is at test site 5, closer to test site 15, with the amendment that they just did.
I don't think we've ever thought about this, but is this compatible with any future developments we may have in the area?
Well, what's that? Yes, and actually, to be honest with you, this particular this particular test site is unique because the original test site 1, is so close to the railroad that you really can't test there without shutting down the valve run, okay?
Mhm.
Well, what Impulse wants to do is at the test site that's impacted with that quantitative distance that they need to protect, they are going to build an encapsulated building, which means there's zero QD, which means there's no protected area. Okay? What they want to do though is build 2 test areas that are adjacent to it that they can put in a vertical launch stand for rocket engine testing. And what was the other item? There was a test.
Propulsion testing.
But essentially, it's very compatible. The challenge is, of course, they will need to coordinate with their neighbors because the QDs or the quantitative distance protected area. But we can't use that land for anything else other than test sites.
I gotta back up a minute. You said launch.
I didn't mean launch. I'm sorry. Vertical, the rocket test
Test
stand, the
stand.
vertical
Okay.
test stand.
Okay.
Like the Spaceship 2
Yeah.
test stand. Similar?
Yeah.
Like a larger size rocket or similar or?
And-
Sorry,
Go ahead, Jim.
I couldn't tell you on the size of the
Just
rocket.
curious. I mean, that's a serious rocket for Spaceship 2. So,
I don't think it's going to be as robust of a test stand.
okay.
These will be done per county code, inspected, permitted.
Absolutely, and by environmental requirements as well.
Okay, because we may want to use this in the future.
Right.
And obviously, it's not one to do that.
Right.
Yeah, referencing that, what's the lease? Is it a year lease or month to month?
It says 5 years.
Okay. I should
Yeah,
be-
the existing one that was previously authorized is a 5-year. And right now, what they're doing is working with their engineers to come up with their precise development plan so that once they get that done, then they submit that to the airport and the airport approves their design and then they go to the county to start their permitting process.
That's how we got in trouble with Mass to submit their building, doing all this work. And
Yeah,
finished and signed off.
the clean room building.
Impulse is doing everything by the book right now with keeping the airport in the loop of all of their changes
And we
and
should inspect.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep. There should be like a milestone inspection and you say, okay,
Yes,
That's good.
they're tying Floyd and I in on all of the steps and conversations that they're having with their engineers and electrical to make sure that everything that they want to do is going to be on their plan so that when they submit it to us, Floyd's already aware of what their intent is.
Okay. So the action item is to approve the lease amendment for the road expansion
Yes,
for their utilities.
yes.
Can you make a motion for approval?
second.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
just because these are existing roads, we're moving it or we're adding some.
No, there's no existing roads right now. It's all on the land. And what I mean by road is because on the other test sites, they make their own roads. They drive.
This is a utility easement is what this is, not a road.
Well, it will be their access road because they'll have their control room on one pad and then their test sites on A and B. So on the exhibit, you'll see the lines that goes from like A, B, and C. Those will be their dirt roads right now. And the utilities are going to go underneath those.
Currently, the
Utilities are installed, the utility company will come to us.
Right.
Easement.
but currently
There you go.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
utilities are running under land they're not currently leasing. So by amending the lease,
Right.
now they can
I
get
get
approval
that.
from the utility company to do it.
I was wanting to
Otherwise,
separate the two
Yeah.
out. It's not, they're gonna use it to drive on, okay.
Yes.
or not. It doesn't matter.
But the real thing is, it's a utility easement on land they don't currently lease, so they can run their utilities to, yeah, okay. I'm good
Yes.
with it.
Okay.
Okay, so we've had 2 motions to approve. Roll call vote. Sure. Public comment on this? Okay. Roll call vote. Director Valentine?
Yes.
Director Coleman?
Aye.
Director Barney?
Aye.
Director Allred?
I
Director Morgan? Aye. Motion passes, unanimous vote. Action item B, Caltrans AIP grant, rehab taxiway A lighting.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, this is, as you guys can recall, recently we accepted an AIP grant for taxiway alpha lighting improvements. That typically result, or when I say typically, this is an untypical situation, but typically the airport is responsible for 10% and the state will kick in 5% of that share to match up to $150,000. This grant here is to put in for that matching grant for that taxiway alpha electrical rehabilitation project. I don't recall, but what is the total amount that we're putting in for?
300 something from last week.
Right, it'll be the 5% of the project. I mean, we won't know if we get approved. This is just authorizing us to go forward with the resolution and the application to see if we qualify for it.
So last time it was 20% Air Force providing money. This is gonna make that less than 20%.
Yes,
Right.
up to
15,
150,000.
Okay, that's close to 10% then, because I believe it was 350-ish that the airport was putting in.
Yeah, Caltrans, again,
Yeah.
this is just doing the application, but they can
Okay.
approve up to 150,000. But it's usually 5%. It usually equals out to be 5% up to 150,000.
Do they stick at the percentage or they stick at the?
It's, you can
Yeah.
apply for up to, you can apply for 5% up to 150,000 is typical.
It's capped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way,
I'll
is
stick at
bizarre.
150.
Yeah.
This is the only state I've ever worked at that has a cap
Yeah.
on their share, but
So that's about right. It's about a $1.75 million program. So 10%.
what I recommend is that we adopt a resolution, allow me, the CEO, to authorize filing an application for the state AIP matching grant, accepting allocations of the state AIP matching funds, and execute the AIP matching grant agreement with this project.
I second it. Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, so let's have a roll call vote. Director Ballantyne?
Yes.
Director Allred?
Aye.
Director Barney?
Aye.
Director Coleman?
Aye.
Director Morgan, aye as well. So it's unanimously passes Caltrans AIP grant and funding, matching funding in our part.
What kind of time frame when you file, we get some sort of announcement?
They're usually pretty quick. It's usually, I want to say 30 to 60 days. She's real responsive with Caltrans. So we'll send it over and it just all depends when it falls, when they're having their meetings to make the approval. And then we typically don't put in for the monies until we've completed the project. So that way we're done and we've paid what we can show proof of payment
I believe the timeline was like November, December for that.
for starting, yeah.
Right. Okay, so that should be in time. Yeah. Close.
Okay, we're moving on to reports. Item 5. Director of Administration.
Good afternoon. These are the financials for ending July 31st, so the first month into the new year. Bank balance decreased $74,000. We just finishing up projects and also paid the unfunded liability to CalPERS in July. Operating revenue, we're at 9%, and then operating expenses at 8%, so we're on track for being the first month in. Fuel sales were 66,000 gallons. On the AR for over 90 days, not a lot of difference from the previous month. American Verde and High Desert Wireless, they both have vacated their properties, but they are still making payments towards their past due amounts. So they're kind of each month paying some towards the past due. Yep, and then working with Virgin Orbit, working with legal with Virgin Orbit, Maston, and SpaceLink to wrap those up. Those are the
We can take SpaceLink off.
Okay.
The attorney advised there was no money funds for creditors in the state.
Okay, so then we'll be writing off that off the next report. Dean Sost has his past due amount. We received a $250 payment last week from him. So
Always 90 days in, right?
yeah, because
Okay.
Fitness Center has 553 members, And one last thing, we are sponsoring the Gathering of the Eagles event on November 11th. That's in Lancaster. Wanted to see as if any of the board members wanted to attend that event so we can reserve you a seat at one of our tables. So if you'll just let myself know or Nicole know if you would like to attend. And that's all I have for this afternoon.
Okay. Director of Operations.
Two
Oh, we had an
votes.
accident.
An incident.
Yes.
It's always something. At least it wasn't my drink. Good afternoon. Right, please. Good afternoon, members of the board. Our runway safety action team meeting was held on August 30th. Went really well. We had several participants from the members of our Mojave community attend. And some really good conversations about ways to improve runway safety here at Mojave, as well as general safety at the airport. We were able to mark off several items from last year's action plan. We did add two, one of which was the pavement failure on taxiway Foxtrot. We're hoping that with the addition of these, we'll be able to obtain recognition for some of the challenges that we are facing here. Tim can speak more on this, but often those plans are reviewed by the FAA whenever we have discretionary funds and helps with some of those projects. We are working to resolve the taxiway Foxtrot issue as soon as possible, but it may be something that requires a little bit more assistance. Our airport operations specialists were promoted into their new roles on August 14th. And I do say promoted instead of transition. We do consider this a huge step up. And if you have a moment, please take the time to congratulate them on this transition. It was a tough training period, but they all put in a lot of work, and we are very proud of them. These roles, for more of these, if we have to bring a pavement surface down or we have maintenance somewhere on the airfield that may affect some of our tenants, getting that information out. So as always, if you haven't subscribed to our notification system yet, we encourage you to do so you can get that information. You have the option of email, text message, or phone call. And coordinate that through Chris Bandorf, our Director of Public Safety and Security. That's it.
Question, building of the concrete structure is covered by Sterling.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
We'll let you use it.
Just
Now you can use it.
No, I prefer it what it is. I just want to watch out for our main.
Yes.
Use at your discretion.
Right. And that's all for me. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to add to, so Ariel ran the syllabus by me for the promotion for the ops personnel, and it is a non-trivial amount of information, so it can't be overstated. Thank you so much for setting the bar as high as you have, both Ariel and Tim, and additional thanks to getting your people up to that high bar. So just a huge congratulations to them. Thank you so much.
This was a recategorization of the job title.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think I remember it.
And just to give you guys perspective, that train curriculum was based off a certified airport, an international airport. These personnel will take some time to get comfortable in doing what they do, but to give you an idea of how hard they work, even we would consider to be our lowest common denominators. I mean, you're taking a security person that there's very little requirements for and bringing them up to a technical trade position. They all perform marvelously. As a matter of fact, I took each one out driving a couple weeks ago, and each one of them referenced, I read that somewhere, which really tells you that these guys put in the time and the effort, and we're really proud of them.
So we will see them as our security personnel?
Well, they actually, as I like to say, they're operations, so it means they're Johnny on the spot. Okay, they do security, but that's a portion of what they do. Their job is to be a representative of the airport, perform the inspections, address issues on the airport in the absence of myself or Ariel. And so that's how a lot of airports actually work, so that they have this group of trustees.
How do we identify them?
Their
So the vehicle will say
operations.
Okay.
Yes, they're in the process of ordering
In other
those.
words, I might want to stop them and talk to them, but am I stopping a security vehicle, an operations vehicle? I just want to know.
Oh, no, it makes a great point, and we just talked about this last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we
Well-
are working on rebranding the security vehicles. So right now we still say security.
Okay,
and
there you go.
rebranding
There you
for-
go. Thanks. I like to talk to our employees and making sure I'm talking the right language to the right ones.
And we want you guys to talk to them because we want to find out if they're meeting their needs. This is experimental for Mojave, but it's what the industry typically has, and it makes sense since we already have the personnel.
Mhm.
So if they're not meeting the expectation, we definitely want to know.
Was the recent cleanup effort under operations? I know, got lots of emails from Lynn. How did that, is there a summary? Is someone going to report on that? How that went?
We're still doing a few last minute items because certain tenants weren't available within that span that we were doing it. And as soon as everything is complete, then Floyd will be reported on that.
Okay.
Okay, fill me in. What are we cleaning up?
Just, I think it's, my understanding was stuff that overflowed outside leased areas, like airport, if someone parks their trailer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ground lease.
Yeah. I'm still
Yeah.
seeing a
We're
lot
all-
of.
In the general aviation area, in between the hangars
Okay,
and.
so it was just the GA area that was done
Yes, we started with that and,
in, but you're doing it airport wide, right, eventually?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to do that. It's,
And we'll be doing
we've
it
had a few
annually.
major ones over
For
the years
example,
that were acres.
Like all the foam blocks parked out on the ramp in front of some buildings. Are those part of the cleanup?
We started with
Okay.
the general aviation area, and that's giving us our setup of how it's gonna work. So, like with lots of emails and letting people know in plenty of advance that, if you're not sure if it's on your lease, then give us a call, we'll let you know. And, they will be asking you to put it on your lease if it's not when they go out there.
And I know somebody parked their car differently to kind of block some stuff that might be part of that cleanup. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
come on, Jeff.
No, down by my
No, I know.
area.
Somebody
That
needs
area.
smiles.
What's that?
I just want
Yeah, they have been in contact with
Mhm.
the tenants that we still have items out there and are working on a process of getting all of the items in there.
I do that year. I'm sure it's hard. I'm sure if I was down there for 10 or 20 or 30 years, it just migrates. I understand.
But the guys did a really good job, and we got a lot of good feedback from tenants who appreciated us going out there and cleaning up items that had been left beside their hangars that did not belong to them. And some of the items we did, the guys went out and took pictures before cleaning up. We sent it to the tenant that it was closest by, and if they said, nope, take it away, then that's exactly what we
It's not my oil.
Speaking of that, we'd like the oil, refuge oil. Is
Yeah.
that close?
And I wish Floyd were here
I
to
know.
on the stats, but I know he is working.
They're asking me all the time about that. When are we gonna get that? So,
Yeah, I had
That's
to
a-
make a trip to the landfill.
yeah,
It'll be super.
It's next to Bob's Center right now.
yeah.
Joking when I say
Yeah. Okay, CEO report.
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, members of the board, I have a lot. I'm just going to kind of give you a real quick once over because I think we went without a meeting for a little while. But the taxiway alpha rehabilitation, I think you guys are aware, but we do have the discretionary grant approved by the board back on September 10th when we held a special meeting. Mead and Hunt is still negotiating the scope of the work with Royal Electric, the bidder or the bidder that was awarded, to lower the total estimate of the project. There was a difference in what they estimated versus what we were awarded, so they're working on trying to get that narrowed down. Inland Port, this is interesting, and I kind of really hesitate to brief you guys on this, but I think we need to bring it to light right away. Pioneer Partners have been very silent with the airport lately. Since they did receive word they did not receive the grant from the for the inland port infrastructure. they are working through an individual entity and reached out and asked the airport if we'd be interested in buying the property. I told them that intermodal properties are not considered to be a good investment by airports, and that while there could be some value in acquiring some of the adjacent property, I don't think that that's something that might be in our wheelhouse. But I mean, if it comes down the road, I'll bring it to you guys for your decision. But I don't know what's going on. I don't have a good feeling. Let's just put it that way. I think that was a very odd request that was brought to my attention. So I will continue to beat the pavement and find out what's going on more with them as they move on.
Quick question: do you think they're waiting for some grant money or something?
If I were to speculate, and I want to be careful about speculating because I don't know,
Okay.
but it seems to me that there was a big push, especially when there's opportunity for a grant, and when the grant fell through, I don't know if maybe their financing fell through or what, but I don't know if they hung their hat on that grant, but it seems to me like they're not going to be able, or they're not moving forward at this point.
Question. Could you just help me understand why intermodal properties aren't considered necessarily a good investment?
Yeah, absolutely. It's because of the amount of infrastructure that you have to put in to support that operation, like gantry cranes and pavement, rail, that kind of stuff is extremely expensive. And the rate of return over time is really low. So it's I'm just saying in generalities, that's not something airports generally want to go down the road of doing, but that's a generality, of course.
Thank you.
The water main system update, bids were open on September 7th. Mead and Hunt is currently evaluating the bid information from 4 bidding firms and issue a recommendation of the award this week. The hydraulics modeling is still in process. Apparently that project takes a lot to do. The hangar development update, just to keep you guys in the loop, I did submit a grant request to GoBiz, which was supported by Assemblyman Lackey and Senator Groves, to construct 3 medium-sized box hangars with the intent to make them for transient aircraft operations and testing. I requested a $4 million grant for this. I don't know if it will cover it all the way, but I'm using very loose numbers right now because cost of hangar construction is so weird.
Where would the proposed locations be?
Well, I am proposing that we construct them right over here off of Bravo Taxiway,
Okay.
which is in ideal location because of road access. I'm recommending 3 medium individual hangars that are constructed next to each other with a shared ramp to
Like 60 by 60, 100 by 100.
yeah, like 65 by 65,
Okay.
approximately.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the whole purpose of it is and I think you guys all know this, the demand for transient testing right now, like Universal Hydrogen, Supnal, Boom, we lack those facilities. This would be a great opportunity for us to have transient testing facilities and also heck, even transient hangars if in the event that somebody wants to hangar overnight.
Correct. So
GoBiz, if we I think we have a pretty good argument. So let's wait and see what they end up determining. There is a new grant that came out that's called the SURF grant, or CERF. It's Community Economic Resilience Fund. And it's a program that's really, interestingly enough, established for development projects that promote sustainable and equitable recovery from the economic distress of COVID-19. What they're offering this year is a total of $65 million that's divided among 13 regions in the state. Each region will select proposals and forward them on to a panel that will make the final determination of how to spend that $65 million for this grant period for this year. The reason why it's so interesting is it's for shovel-ready projects. There are not grants currently out there that get a project shovel-ready, getting the permits, design, engineering. I think their intent is that next year they're going to offer the same grant, but for construction. I have forwarded recommendations for this type of grant to B3K, who is also advocating for us to get these projects pushed through. I have put in a list of 4 projects, one being the pavement of rocket test site roads, waterline utility rehabilitation design, construction and taxi lanes for GA complex, the design and environmental, and the construction and transient hangars. Okay, We'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. But we're getting in early. The deadline won't be until I think at the end of next month.
Is the,
Question. Go ahead.
the GA taxiways, would that include the expansion that we're notionally? I
So
realize this is very preliminary stage, but you're not talking about just resurfacing existing. You're talking about if the 3 roads we're working towards developing, it would include those taxiways
Right.
and the infrastructure underneath it and all that as well.
right.
That'd be awesome. Now you said it's a region will decide, so we first have to submit it to, what's our region? That is it Kern County? Is it?
Yeah, the regions do kind of follow along those lines, at least for Kern County because it's so big. But it is essentially Kern County that we're competing against.
Okay.
That we'll put in our grant, and it'll be it is Kern County essentially. That's our region.
And it's not an airport specific grant, it's the whole county
Right.
or whole region.
Right.
What are the qualifications that they're asking, and what did they say it has to?
It's got to be projects that really, obviously, develop jobs and bring more business to the airport. Well, I brought this up in this meeting, and they go, "Oh no," because I brought it up because I said, this is a project we really need, and what I was told was, you can't build without water, right? And I'm like, absolutely. And they said, well, okay, well then that is definitely a critical component. You can't keep your businesses open if your water lines fail, right? So they said, yes, this would fall into that category.
Okay, I'm thinking something a little more immediate to we've got potential tenants that could hire 50 employees if we had a hangar. We don't have a hangar, they can't locate here. You've answered my question.
Yeah. No, I totally fully on that.
Yeah, I think there's an optics thing where if it said a building and its infrastructure, where that included the water rather than just saying the
Yeah,
water.
I get what you're saying.
Electrical.
I want to meet their qual. I want the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So how do we qualify these? But I'll leave it up to you.
I'll find a way to finagle it.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here. Just some brief highlights, guys. I did speak at the Association of California Airports conference last week regarding hangar development, just to give them what we're doing, which is fascinating. Everybody was just like so crazy, like interested. And I'm like, guys, this isn't a panacea. Okay, this is just what we're planning to do right now. So I thought that was interesting. Also, just as a highlight, I did get appointed onto the board for ACA to represent this area. Because Ashley over Tatchby is moving up to the treasurer position, and so it left a vacancy for our region. Let's see here. I did provide a presentation to the Italian school on suborbital flight last week as well when I was in Reno. Talked to Starburst, which is a company that's interested in potentially doing some work here. Have you heard of them before, Bob?
I've attended several of their conferences. I've been on their judge selection board.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Sounds promising, but I'm not going to hold my breath at this time. I want to see more movement from B3K. They find ways to not only, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like to look into projects, but also to help find financiers and connect people up to them.
Okay. They're like they match up angel investors and startups, but specifically in mostly space, but aerospace.
Okay.
But it's mostly small, like we have on Rocket Row here. Tiny companies looking for funding.
Okay.
It's pretty cool to attend their meetings. It'd be very cool to host something like that.
Yeah.
The ones I've attended have been down in the basin.
They've had an angel team here last year.
You want to?
So people come in and give their elevator pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, a better place to do it.
Outside of that, finally, just to let you guys know, on the 1st of this month, Speaker McCarthy's staff did come to talk to a couple of our tenants, and they get a chance to check out Universal Hydrogen's aircraft, and needless to say, they were pretty impressed. So that is basically all that I have for the board.
Okay, item D is taxiway alpha electrical rehab.
I'm sorry, that was covered in my.
In your
Yeah.
CEO,
Yeah.
okay, it's plenty numbering, okay. So we got water system hangar development highlights. So I think we're on to board committees. We don't presently have any, okay? And no one's proposing the creation of any at this time. Okay, so we're on to item 6, director comments, not on the agenda. Anyone? I've got a couple. I attended Plane Crazy Saturday. The presentation was amazing. It was by Build a Plane, which is the STEM program where they are building airplanes up in Tehachapi. It's really cool. They're doing great work. If there's any way we can get more involved in that to support that program, it'd be great. Also attended Kathy Hansen sponsored big barbecue for the test pilots out here yesterday or Sunday, and that was a big success. And I'd like to thank Kathy for that, and Scott Glasser for sponsoring that as well. That's the only comments I've got. Okay, next one is closed session. So those of you who are attending, we're going to shut you out